Cat to Paul for the locker room. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, and let's get right into it. The LA Kings lost to the Minnesota Wild 2-1, and it had me thinking. I haven't talked about the Wild that much this season, and in some cases because they've underperformed. They are a team that I had very high expectations going into it. You had a legendary goalie like Marc-Andre Fleury, a superstar like Kaprizov. I thought, hey, if the right pieces and the young guys step up, this could be a very dangerous team, and I could see them easily finishing in the top 3. That's just not been the case this season. In 57 games played, 31 wins, 21 losses, 5 overtime/shootout losses for 67 points. They are 5-4-1 in their last 10, but they are on a 3-game winning streak. What has held the Minnesota Wild back from taking that next step? Kaprizov has done his job. 57 games played, 33 goals, 34 assists for 67 points. That is what you need from Kaprizov at the very least. He needs to be a productive player. You have Max Zuccarello, 55 games played, 20 goals, 36 assists for 56 points. That's great production for a guy that's only $6 million per year. You're getting your bang for your buck. Then you have Eriksson Ek, 57 games played, 21 goals, 25 assists for 46 points. Matthew Boldy, 57 games, 16 goals, 23 assists for 39 points. Your top 6 is pretty solid, and you know what? I'll shout him out because he scored 2 against the LA Kings. Ryan Hartman in 35 games played, 9 goals, 11 assists for 20 points. Now, the top 6 is solid. Is it going to blow your doors off besides Kaprizov? Absolutely not. I think it's a very competent top 6 and more towards the top in the league. The Minnesota Wild just don't really have depth scoring. I mean, outside of Gaudreau on the 3rd line, there's just not much there. If the playoffs were to begin today, the Minnesota Wild would be in the 2nd slot, but they'd be the worst scoring team in the Western Conference. They have issues putting pucks in the net. Now, they have a positive goal against differential. They're relatively competent keeping the puck out of their own net, but they aren't elite either. They're just kind of middle of the pack with goals against. So the offense isn't really star-studded outside of Kaprizov and Zuccarello. And the defense, in my opinion, is kind of the same, like an average decor. Jared Spurgeon and Jacob Middleton have done pretty solid this season with 25 and 9 points respectively and a 20-4 plus-minus ratio. I think when it kind of comes down to it, and I know Matt Dumba, this is his last year, his deal, he's just not it. When you watch him play, he makes some very boneheaded type mistakes, and for a $6 million defenseman, he shouldn't be making these mistakes. And outside of Brodin, Spurgeon, and Middleton, it's just kind of a below-average D-man. Like John Merrill doesn't really wow me. Alex doesn't either, and I know he's 37 years old, but the decor is just kind of average because of the top 3, and I would argue in a playoff scenario they'd be a below average decor. And the goaltending has actually been pretty solid, but not for the reasoning you'd expect. Why? I was not huge on Filip Gustavsson going into the season. I just didn't see enough of a track record, but he has blown all my expectations out the water. 26 games played, 2.11 goals against average, a .928 save percentage, a 15-8 win-loss record. This guy has done fantastic, and in my opinion, probably should be getting the lion's share of the starts because Marc-Andre Fleury, in comparison, in 34 games played, a 2.98 goals against average, a .901 save percentage, and a 16-13 win-loss record. Listen, I know Marc-Andre Fleury is going to be a Hall of Famer. He has done so much for the game. He's won cups. But I think it's kind of unfair at this point in his career to expect him to be prime Fleury. He is no longer prime Fleury. Now, he can give you those nights where he shows flashes. But I think for the Wild, they got to really keep riding Gustafsson. You found something here that's working right now. He's only 24 years old. And to be fair, a Fleury-Gustafsson tandem works great because Fleury's the elder statesman that's going to help make this guy develop at the NHL level. And if Gustafsson has the right personality, he's just going to absorb as much information as possible. Saying all that, what are my perspectives of the Wild going into the playoffs? I think they'll have some gritty games, low-scoring games. I think there's some higher end upside with Kaprizov and Zuccarello. They're just not good enough yet, though. I think if you give young guys like Boldy another couple years, maybe he could become the next big thing for the Wild. But quite frankly, I just don't see it this season. I look at a very average offense, a below average defense in my opinion, and a goaltending tandem in which if they do go with Fleury in the playoffs, I'm not sure how well that will go. If they go with Gustafsson, they might have a chance to steal a round, but it's going to be a very tall task for them. If they finish in the wild card in the second slot, the top team in the West, whether that be Dallas, Winnipeg, or Vegas, I think they just have too much firepower for the Wild to keep up with. Now, if the LA Kings somehow manage to face the Wild in the first round, I actually think that could be an upset waiting to happen. I'm not super bullish on the LA Kings. I think they're definitely not what their record says they are. In that situation, I could give the Wild have a greater chance going into round 2. But even if they get past round 1, I just don't see enough there for them to go on a deep run. But I will say, Wild fans, you have some hope here with some young players like Kaprizov and Boldy, even Eriksson Ek. There's some pieces here that are very nice. What the Wild have to do is they got to draft and bring in some more help so they can really help support their superstars. You do not want to waste Kaprizov's prime. And to be very frank, he's only under contract until 2026. You want to make sure you entice him and make him want to stay in Minnesota so you can build for future cup runs. I'm Captain Paul. I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are down below. Do you think the Wild can go on a deep run? Let me know down below in the comment section. I will see you in the next video.
Johnston, the shooter. He's in. Save Gustafsson! And a win for the Wild!